Good to you. Um, Going back to the questions about dreams,
Yes.
I've been experiencing very vivid dreams most of my life.
Yes.
Very picturesque, very much details, and I remember
All right.
them.
How exciting.
I know, I love it. I think that's great. Recently, I would say probably in the past couple of years, I've been experiencing very similar dreams, but there's always one particular, call it sidekick element, person, creature. I'm not really sure
Yes.
that. Whereas everything is clear, it's always very cloudy, very foggy.
Yes.
I feel connected to it. I
Yes.
feel a relationship with this particular
Yes.
creature.
Yes.
But I'm never able to visualize it. It will slowly let me see some parts of it, but I can
Yes.
never get a clear image of it.
And what makes you think there's something wrong with that process?
Well, I guess I don't think there's something wrong per se, but I'm just curious to maybe know, am I holding myself back in
No.
the understanding
No.
of it?
No. No.
Okay.
You're being given as much as is appropriate to give to you, as much as you need to know
Okay.
at any given moment. It'll keep going. It'll keep expanding. It'll get clearer. You have to trust the timing.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Yes?
Perfect. Makes sense.
Anything else?
Yeah, sure. As far as it kind of sparked my interest when you started talking about the Mayans and I guess previous
The Maya.
culture, Maya. One of the questions I have is back in Italy, one of the major populations that is extinct now was the Etruscans.
Yes.
And there's in some of the I guess the records that we have, they do indicate interactions with extraterrestrials.
Yes. From time to time, they had them.
Okay, so I guess my question is, were they just exposed to extraterrestrials, or did they have any connections with it? Are they
You
involved?
all have connections, but yes, in terms of your classic idea of interactions in physical reality, now and then they experienced interactions and contact with different forms of extraterrestrials.
My next question is, before we fall asleep,
Yes.
can we ask to meet or together with the energy of our prior past lives? In other words, are there
They're not
steps?
prior, they exist right now, so of course you can connect.
Okay.
Everything exists right now. There's no such thing as the past. There's no such thing as the future. That's illusion. What you call past and future are simply different parallel realities that you consider to be the past or the future from your particular space-time perspective. But they all exist right now. That's why you can connect to them. If they actually were in the past, you'd never be able to do so.
Understood. And so that would tie in also with family members or friends that might have passed away.
Whomever.
Got it. Perfect. And then my next question is, if the goal is to raise or increase our vibration, will there ever come a time in this life, in which we can master the tuning of our frequencies, much like we would change the radio dial?
Yes.
Okay.
And many people on your planet can already do so. You already have certain kinds of teachers and masters who have that kind of control, do you not? Shamans and so on and so forth.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, of course, the potential exists within all of you. And the secret is, you're all doing it all the time. It's not that you have to learn to do it. You have to learn to become more aware of the fact that you're already doing it. That's the secret.
Okay.
Because you're shifting billions of times per second through billions of parallel realities per second. So you're already changing completely, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. All you have to do is let your mind catch up to the fact that that's already going on, and the world will explode before you into a magical experience.
Understood. Okay.
Does that help?
Yep, it does.
And
Thank you.
thank you. You're welcome.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
Thank you. I'd like your advice.
Oh, all right. The doctor is in.
Good. I grew up with not knowing who my parents were,
Oh, all right.
and I've recently found my mother.
Yes.
I'd like to find my father.
Go right ahead.
I'd like to know how to go about doing that.
Check the records of certain family organizations in your area called Wisconsin.
Okay.
See what happens.
All right.
See where that leads you.
Okay. I'll do that.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Happy hunting.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me this evening.
All right, and to you, good day.
Thank you. With having to do with dreams, for as long as I can remember, I'll wake up just really scared. Sometimes I'll be screaming or hyperventilating or
How exciting for you.
just crying
Yes.
very scared. And
Do you feel out of control?
yes, and I won't even be able to remember at all what I've dreamt about.
Do you understand the idea of what we have termed the hybridization agenda?
Not really.
Do you understand the term alien abduction?
Yes.
You're part of it.
Can you explain more to me, like in what aspect?
Well, you have agreed on a certain level of spirituality to participate in the evolutionary program of the earth, where beings from a parallel reality that you call the Greys will usually take people such as yourself aboard their ships and extract DNA material, genetic material, to create a hybrid species that will allow their particular culture to continue, because they pretty much destroyed their own culture and need viable human DNA to continue their society. They have created many forms of hybrids. You are part of that program in terms of donating your particular genetic material to the creation of many different forms of hybrid beings. But the idea is that this has been going on for quite some time, but you've never really been given the tools to understand that from another level you made an agreement to do this. And so anytime that these beings come and take you from where you are aboard their ships or shift you into a different reality, you feel out of control because you don't really know what's going on, or your physical mind is simply in the dark. But there's really nothing to be afraid of. You can actually ask for more awareness of what is going on so that you can have these experiences with more consciousness and on your own terms.
That actually reminded me of, I was at the Contact in the Desert in Joshua Tree.
Yes.
And you had mentioned that because of the higher frequency levels that we might feel afraid.
Yes.
And I actually, right around the time, I believe it was like 12 or 1 o'clock, that you had said that to expect something.
Yes.
I became very afraid, just terrified, the most
Yes.
afraid I've ever been in my life. I just
Yes.
wanted to leave. I told my boyfriend, like, forget our stuff, just leave our stuff. We have to go. Like,
Yes.
And
This is one of the reasons why we don't have open contact with all of you yet. Because the idea is as follows. Now, certain beings this doesn't happen with. Especially doesn't really happen with the Greys exactly, although there's a form of it. Remember that your body has a form of its own consciousness. And one of the things that is very strong in the human body is the idea of a survival mechanism. The fight or flight mechanism. When it senses something that may be, in appearance, something that can threaten your survival. The energy of many extraterrestrial beings, including our own, is on a much, much higher frequency than yours, because many of you are compartmentalized, fragmented within your consciousness. You're not coherent, you're not integrated, so your frequency is relatively low compared to ours. When you believe or feel the greater field of energy that we possess coming into contact with your fragmented field, it tends to force certain things to the surface that you haven't integrated within yourself yet, and that can cause a fear, fight or flight reaction, a survival mode reaction in your body that makes you run.
Yeah, and it was strange. We just went like right down the street, like maybe not even a mile away from the actual campsite.
Yes.
We were at, and then I felt much better, and
Yes.
it sounds strange, but I felt like I had a positive experience. I got a lot of information.
You did, especially knowing that that energy showed you that you're still unconsciously holding on to certain ideas and definitions and beliefs that don't allow you to fully release and be yourself and be free to have the experience in a more positive way. So it's about examining the idea of what you're really afraid of and letting those things go so that you can be more of yourself and raise your frequency. Know that you're in control of this. Know that you made an agreement and that you can, again, participate in this on your own terms with more conscious control and awareness. But that process is going to take as long as you're willing to allow it to take. Yet, again, you are willing to see that you have learned something. So that's a step in the positive direction.
Okay.
Yes?
Another thing, I used to be very confident in myself.
You're still confident. It's just that you're now confident about your lack of confidence. No, I'm serious. You cannot be not confident. That's not possible. You're always confident about something. It's just that now your belief systems are revealing themselves to show you that one of the things you are most confident about is that you lack confidence. But you're confident about that, so you don't lack confidence. There's the paradox for you to play with.
Thank you.
It's about learning to be confident in what you prefer. You don't have to learn to be confident. You're already confident. Just be confident in what you prefer to be confident about instead of what you don't prefer to be confident about, such as lacking confidence, which is not possible. There's no such thing as a lack of confidence. There's no such thing as a lack of trust. There's no such thing as a lack of control. Because when you experience being out of control, you're controlling that. When you feel like you don't trust, you trust that to be true.
Thank you. Okay, and then sorry to go back about Joshua Tree and I guess also the Greys that
Yes.
I had an idea about the Greys that just kind of had come to me at one
Yes.
point that
Yes.
in a parallel reality or what we
Yes.
would call the future, it was us, specifically our planet that we wanted to travel or whatever, and that's why, and we became kind of biomechanics, or we did something to
It's
ourselves.
a parallel Earth, and on that Earth, the advancements disconnected them in a mental way from their nature, and they destroyed their environment in the same similar way that you are destroying yours. They had to mutate themselves from human into gray in order to survive, but still realized they were going to die out if they didn't find a source of viable human DNA to continue their civilization by creating hybrids. So they used their advanced technology to tunnel through parallel realities such as yours to find DNA they could use to create hybrid beings like ourselves and others, so that they could not only continue their particular society, but so that we could also recognize the same patterns in your society and share this information with you so you don't have to walk down the same destructive path.
Thank you. Okay, and then I don't know if it's related to that or the fact that you said that I've been abducted.
Yes.
But sometimes
That's just a word that a lot of you use. You have
Thank
simply been invited to participate.
I understand, but there's been circumstances where my boyfriend and I, and even at first he was like, where I felt like I'm being watched, and even where he didn't necessarily believe me, and he's even seen things that have caused him to believe me.
Yes.
And so that is.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Okay, I guess that's.
So now you know that's happening. So you can have more conscious awareness and more conscious control of your participation in it if you're willing to. But there's nothing to be afraid of.
Okay, and then this is the last thing.
Yes.
After Joshua Tree, for about 2 weeks after that late at night, I would hear a very, I can't describe it any other way than an alien noise. It's almost what you would expect to hear from a sci-fi movie, the noise that they play anyway, that I would hear that, and I would see a blue light, or a light that
Yes.
that's not coming from any source.
Yes.
And
Well, it
even
is coming from a source. It's just that it's coming
source
from
that
an
I can't
interdimensional source.
a source that I can't. Even at one point, I had woken up,
Yes.
and when I awoke, it was the best way I can describe it is the Agent Orange thing, where they have somebody's eyes pried open and they show all these pictures,
Yes.
and so that's the kind of what I experienced, just a bunch of pictures flashing in my head,
You
and
have
it ended.
been shown many pictures telepathically about the possibility of your world going down the same path as the Greys.
And it ended on I want to say a silhouette of a very tall, thin man, but what it was it was black, and the man was the light.
Yes, but you were looking at the mantis.
So it's a mantis.
What people on your planet refer to as the mantis beings are the ones in charge of the hybridization agenda over the Greys. They bear a resemblance to the praying mantis insect on your planet, so are basically very tall and thin.
Okay.
Now, do you understand? Do you understand that you have hybrid children?
Oh, I didn't before. I guess I do now that you've said that.
Oh, very good. But that's a story for another time for you. Right now, at this time, before you go to sleep, just take a few deep breaths and say, all right, I'm ready to understand my relationship with you, my agreement with you from a more conscious perspective, so I may participate on my own terms more openly, more clearly.
Okay.
All right? And see what happens. If you feel fear, that's all right. You can take it a step at a time and say, all right, wait a minute, let me get used to this, and then see if it passes. They will cooperate and they will work with you if you are willing to open up.
All right.
And you can do it in whatever way works for you. All right?
Okay.
Now,
Thank you.
one moment.
Okay.
What's your favorite scent?
Oh man. Tea tree.
Is that a guess?
Well, I like essential oils. Like I like a lot of scents. Like I could think of like a favorite perfume I have.
What would be the one that would allow you to feel calm?
Yeah, probably
At
lavender.
ease? All right. Then it would probably be helpful as a permission slip for you to have that scent prominent in your room when you go to sleep, when you're asking for more conscious participation, so that you will be more at ease, knowing that you are creating, with the lavender scent, the environment that you prefer in which that exchange and encounter can occur.
All right, thank you.
So you're bringing something to the party.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
You're not arriving empty-handed and going, oh no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yes? Bring something to the party. It will help.
Okay. Sorry. I know I said the last thing was last thing, but this. An idea that I had on my own about why I was so fearful in my dream was about visiting alternate realities or alternate dimensions. And I thought, like, even one time I woke up and I had said, without even realizing what I was saying, hold on, I have to finish coming back into this reality because people were talking to me.
Yes.
So,
because you are shifted to other realities in many of those encounters.
Oh, okay, wow. All right.
So don't worry, you won't get stuck.
All right.
You'll find your way back no matter what.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Tadeo.
Hello, Nania.
No, somebody just asked me a question here, so I think it's time for me to ask you stream questions.
All right.
So, the first question has to do with a person's dreaming. In fact, there's a lot of questions about dreams, so I'll share some of those with you. I often go into a dream space that feels like a lower astral gray ghetto, like environment.
Like I said, there is a lower astral realm that's very close to physical reality that can have a little bit of that feeling to it, which is why a lot of the idea of beings that are acting as quote-unquote ghosts or hauntings occupy that level. It is somewhat colorless, yes, because it's kind of a limbo state where they sometimes don't even know that they're dead, don't know what to do, don't know where to go, maybe caught up in certain belief systems that are negative, maybe working certain things out on that state. So yes, it does have kind of a gray pallor to it from time to time.
And he says that he has a feeling of a mission to get to a specific place to deliver something or find someone.
Yes.
And then he wakes up feeling quite heavy from these dreams.
Yes.
How is this different than the lower astral creation space you mentioned earlier?
Well, as I said, it's not different. But the idea is that you may be searching for a friend who may be a little bit lost in that particular realm, attempting to help them. But because you're taking on some of that vibration and it's so close to the physical reality, when you reconnect with physical reality, it can be like sort of bringing back extra energy that converts into mass, sort of, more densely, and that's why you feel heavy for a while, until you let it go back to the lower astral.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then this one is, when you're in deep meditation, can you experience dream world, or is it kind of the same thing as...
You can have glimpses of it, yes.
Is it the same thing as lucid dreaming?
It can be, but not always.
Like, what's the difference between astral projection and lucid dreaming?
Well, astral projection can be the result of lucid dreaming, which is simply another way of saying you understand that you're creating the dream, you're awake in the dream, and therefore can do what you wish. You can control what's going on. You can realize that you might be, classically speaking, out of your body, and therefore begin an astral journey. So lucid dreaming can be a step towards allowing you to have an experience of astral projection.
And do people visit other lifetimes in their dreams?
Oh, absolutely. But again, remember, all lives exist simultaneously. But yes, you can do that. You can have that experience. Absolutely.
What about if someone's dreaming about tsunamis?
What about it?
Does that mean it's a prediction of the future?
Not necessarily. Remember, there's no such thing. There's only a sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made, but they may be sensing a reality with a high degree of probability behind it, or they may be sensing a reality that is representative of a fear they may have from the physical level, and by sensing that and seeing what the probability is, then it's possible they may also engineer to change that particular outcome. So it just depends on what they do with that information.
And isn't water also sort of a symbol of emotionality?
It can be. So again, you have to take this on a person-by-person basis. You can't overgeneralize.
So the key is to pay attention to what's relevant for you as a person.
Yes.
Like maybe it is the idea of being overwhelmed by emotionality.
It could be.
Or it could be a prediction of the future
It
that doesn't exist.
It could be. You have to make that determination based on what it is you learn about yourself from that dream experience and how honest you are about digging into what you believe to be true about yourself.
So sometimes it's a good idea to, when you wake up in the morning, to just stay with the dream.
Absolutely. Give yourself that moment. Give yourself a few moments. Let it come back. Explore it. Find out what it means to you. Find out how it makes you feel about yourself. Find out that you might learn something about yourself by having had that experience. Yes.
The heaviness that I think other people also have said that they feel like sometimes you can wake up in the morning and you feel so heavy, like you.
And sometimes that's the difference between the idea of physical reality and the idea of being non-physical. Physical reality can feel heavy by comparison to being in the astral form because it is a denser vibration. So the heaviness can come from that too.
So is it easier to learn in the dream world?
Depends.
Because one person was saying they would really like to be able to levitate things, and that they've been pretty successful at it in the dream world.
All right. Well, again, remember, the key to levitation in physical reality is to begin with lightening up.
I think that message was received.
There is, in many forms of art on your planet, since it comes through the imagination from the higher mind, much information that answers a lot of these questions. And as we have said previously, and especially with regard to that particular question, you have a particular film on your planet that you know as The Matrix. And in The Matrix, there is one particular line that answers that question definitively. It goes, even though the question is about levitation, to also the idea of making material objects seem to be manipulated by your mind. Spoon bending. And in that movie, the answer is clear. The only way you can do it is to understand there is no spoon. That it's just a projection of your consciousness. So the idea of an object being located on the ground, and then the idea of that object being located above the ground, is just a matter of understanding there is no object. And therefore the idea of whether it's here, or there, or here, or there, or disappears from there and reappears there, or floats above the ground, is all about understanding that you are creating the concept of physical space and time. And that it's all about resonance, and that there's a different resonance here than there is here. So when you begin to understand that you're just changing the frequency of something to exist in a different frame of reference within a projection of consciousness that you're creating anyway, that isn't real unto itself, then levitation will be something that's normal and natural. Because you're just redefining its location in space and time.
Is your ability to be able to, say, jump from reality to reality in such a drastic way, that would be dependent on relevance in terms of the theme you're exploring?
Of course, it's always dependent upon whether that experience is relevant for you.
So that's why we're not all just popping in and out.
Well, you are popping in and out, but that's why not all of you have to realize it to the same degree.
Right.
Because yes, it has to do with relevance. Some things like that may sound exciting, but they simply may not be relevant for your life theme, at least not at this point. If they are relevant, and you are being yourself as best as you can be, then nothing will stop you from having the experience, because things will naturally unfold in that direction. They will take you there. Remember, your current knows where you need to go. So if you just live your life and follow your passion to the best you can, following the formula, then if the idea of levitating something is relevant for you, nothing will stop it from happening. The only thing that stops appointments you've made and agreements you've made is spending your time and energy worrying that the appointments and the agreements won't happen. So don't do that.
So when a person has a desire to do something that's well outside of what most human beings will do in this reality.
Again, it goes back to the idea of why does your passion come in that form? Never assume that the idea of the form it comes in has to come to fruition to give you the lesson you need. If it is going to come in that form, it will come. But never insist that it must. Otherwise, you're missing the point of why it came to you, because it may have come to you in that form for a completely different reason. Going back full circle, even to the idea that suddenly being excited about levitating or levitating something may simply be synchronicity's way of actually telling you to lighten up. And it may be no more mysterious than that.
So it really is. It's so much about reading the messages that are sent to you by yourself and being able to respond to them in a way that shows you comprehend what's being given to you.
And one of the easiest ways to do that is to let go of the idea that you know what it is the outcome should be. Let go of the ego's wants and open your arms to what you need. What you need will always come and will always fulfill you if you let it. It will always fulfill you. Always. So, does that help?
Yes. And then a person they've been talking about having dreams with you.
Yes.
So
sometimes it will be their own higher mind taking on the form of us because they're familiar with us, and it makes it easier for them to have a conversation thinking that it's us. We are always happy to be used as a simulacrum. This is one of the reasons why we have these conversations, so that you get familiar with our vibration and can use this as a permission slip, so that it's more easy for you in your belief system to talk to your higher mind, thinking that you're talking to us. We're sneaky that way.
This person said, after a dream of shaking Bashar's hand last year,
yes,
I had a dream and saw rainbow DNA across the sky in my backyard next to a metallic round spaceship.
How
what
exciting.
does this mean?
It means you saw an energy field that was generated by a portal that you had the senses to perceive, and that you also saw a ship that was there all the time but was heretofore invisible to your senses until you upgraded them. And that the DNA symbol shows your connection to the beings on the ship.
Here's another one where someone had a dream where I was attending your upcoming event about 2020, and you came up to my seat and told me it was very important that I have an energetic release in 2020. Was that really you?
In that particular case, it was a part of us. Not all of us, but a part of us.
If we avoid dealing with trauma that happens in childhood, does that hold us back from having contact or more contact? Or the kind of contact that it ends up leading to?
It could, because what you're simply saying is you're avoiding looking at the idea of fear-based belief systems that you have bought into. So it could.
Okay. And then finally, many of us here are also artists and would love to see your sculptures on Essassani. Could you plan with some mass exposition to see your artworks, taking us, we the bald and curious ones, on a mass ride to your planet in the dream state?
Yes, that can be done, and from time to time actually has already been done with some individuals. At the same time, it can be that at some point in the years to come, representations of some of the sculptures can be, at least in some form, recreated on your planet so that you at least have an idea of what it is we're creating on ours.
That sounds wonderful.
Yes. Anything else?
So,
because it's about time for your break and your holotope experience.
Okay.
So, at this time, enjoy a short break. We will resume this transmission to crystallize in the idea of your ability to more consciously visit the dream world with your holotope experience as the transmission continues. Good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. Once again, we thank each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction this day of your time. We begin this transmission with the title, Dream World. Where do you go when you dream? What do you do? Now, as we have discussed a few times, there are many types of what you call dreams. Some of them are just what many people think, where you may be reinvestigating, revisiting the things of the day, processing information mentally, emotionally, planning out certain things, coming to certain conclusions while you sleep that might be easier for you to put together when your conscious mind is out of the way, off to the side. However, there are those things you remember as dreams that your physical mind puts together out of available symbols, available props to help you remember something at least akin to or close to an experience you might have had on another realm, on another dimensional level. For many times you will go traveling out of your body, so to speak, in dream time and come back with a story, with a tale, with an adventure, with an experience that your physical mind puts together in some form so that you can remember that something did happen. It may not always be absolutely representative of what you experienced in the other realm. It will at least be symbolically experiential for you to be able to interpret certain ideas that you bring back with you from those adventures in order to apply them in your physical reality, because after all, physical reality is just another type of dream. Before we continue, I remind you that spirit is your natural state and you never ever leave it. You are there right now, all of you, but a portion of your higher consciousness is dreaming that it's no longer in spirit. And that's what physical reality is. A dream that you are not where you are. It's a projection of consciousness to give yourself a focus that you can allow a certain kind of experience to happen within your consciousness so as to discover yourself from a new point of view in a very particular way through process, through physical experience. And it is very valid as a type of dream. But that's what it is, a type of dream. So, the more you allow yourself more awareness, more conscious awareness, more lucidity in the dream state itself, the more lucid you can also become in the physical dream by bringing back the information that you need to allow you to do so. But let's continue with the idea of what goes on in the dream world. Now, this is mostly happening in what most people on your planet refer to as the lower astral realm, a vibrational level of reality, of spirit reality that is still very close to the idea of the frequency of physical reality, and therefore certain kinds of experiences are more likely than others to be had in the dream world. In other words, being that you are still very strongly connected to the concept of physical reality and not actually dying and going farther into the spirit world, so to speak, not fully waking up in spirit, but touching in here and there, you still will generally create certain kinds of experiences in the dream world, in the lower astral realm, that are at least to some degree reminiscent of some of your experiences in general in physical reality. So, for example, you may decide to hang out with your soul family in the dream experience, having fun, exchanging ideas, sharing experiences. But generally speaking, you will attempt to do so in some sort of familiar setting. So in other words, in the dream reality, you may decide with your soul family to create a kind of house or a party environment or something that seems similar to what you might experience in a gathering in physical reality. You will create this out of your consciousness very quickly, because in the dream world, in the lower astral realm, time and space are not what they are, not experienced as they are in physical reality. So there are many things you can do very quickly as you think of them, so they will appear. And in the dream world, you can have many different kinds of experiences in different kinds of environments. As you imagine them, they will appear for you. So if for some reason you feel like you want to fly, you will fly, creating for yourself the idea of levitation from a physical ground level service and going on a flying adventure through the clouds or over the mountaintops. Or you may decide to visit a neighborhood that has been created by many people who might live in the lower astral realm for a while before they continue on to higher spiritual realms. Many people will create very familiar kinds of ideas of houses or other kinds of buildings and trees and valleys and mountains and what have you, and lakes and streams, with the idea of animals and all sorts of other kinds of beings interacting with them in the lower astral realm to express the idea of what it is they wish to experience there. But again, in the lower astral realm, things are not always exactly as they may appear in physical reality. For example, if you visit one of those neighborhoods that might be created by like-minded individuals in the lower astral realm before they continue on to higher spiritual levels, you may find that every single house in that neighborhood will look a certain way. It might be made out of stone. It might be something from what appears to be the past. It might be something from what appears to be the future. You might find that as you step outside one of those dwellings and look toward the idea of a sunset, that the sun might be blue. The sun might be square. You might have 5 moons in the sky. It depends on what everyone has worked out in that neighborhood for what represents the kind of experience they would like to have while they choose to inhabit the lower astral realm to gain other kinds of experiences. So a great many kinds of imaginary experiences can be had there, and very often you will create very specific kinds of adventures with your friends in the lower astral realm for things that cannot necessarily be experienced in your life in your physical reality. You will allow yourself, perhaps, if you have a house that you dream of having in physical reality, create that house in the lower astral realm and get used to living in it and make changes. This is very close to the idea of what we have called the template level reality, where you kind of design your physical experience and things that you wish to experience in physical reality when you wake up in the morning. We use quotes because you're actually going back to sleep when you wake up in physical reality, and you're actually waking up when you go to sleep at night and have a dream. So the idea is that in the template level, you may decide to arrange things in a certain way to have certain experiences in physical reality when you wake up in the morning on that day or some day in the future. But all of that planning takes place in that template level, in the lower astral realm, because again, it's so vibrationally close to the idea of physical reality, and yet very much removed, because you can have certain kinds of experiences there that simply don't match the kinds of experiences you have in physical reality. Now, in that lower astral, there are also many other kinds of beings, including the idea of those beings on a, well, I'll say lower astral realm, really close to physical reality, still in spirit, but really close to physical reality, of those individuals who may not even necessarily know that they have died. So you can run across the idea of what you call ghosts that may be haunting their old house. You can run across many different kinds of beings there that are playing out certain scenarios for themselves in a variety of ways. Many of you actually interact with some of those spirits. Many of you even help participate with their spirit guides in helping to convince them that they've actually died. These are the kinds of adventures you can have there. But as long as you still remain in exploring the theme of physical reality, you will always maintain that vibrational energy connection to the physical world. You will not really go that much farther into the idea of the higher spirit until you actually sever that connection. That's why many times when people are in the dream world, in the lower astral, when they have out-of-body experiences, astral traveling, so to speak, they will describe the idea of your connection to physical reality as a kind of energy cord, what you typically refer to as the silver cord. That's simply an energetic symbol way of representing the idea that you have not yet finished your theme of exploring the physical dream. So there will be a representation that sort of anchors you or ties you still to the physical reality. More often than not, it is interpreted as this kind of silver cord. Although, again, it's a symbol that is interpreted by your mind in order to have some sense of understanding of what it is that is. It's not necessarily experienced that way or seen that way from the higher spirit realm. It's mostly just seen as a vibrational color that you exhibit, that you give off, that is in your so-called energetic aura, that still indicates that you are still exploring a theme in physical reality. And therefore the higher spirits, your spirit guides, so on and so forth, will be able to simply recognize by that spiritual color where it is you're at and how far you're actually going to go in that astral realm on your adventures. But they're very happy to speak with you, very happy to communicate with you on that level. And in that level as well, do some extraterrestrial contacts also occur. Because again, different kinds of extraterrestrials, including us, can alter their vibration in order to experience the idea of the realms near to your physical reality. Being that they are slightly removed from your reality, actually acts as a buffer zone to make it easier to have contact with you and explore certain ideas of what you will experience in your physical reality when you reawaken in it. And so many kinds of contact experiences are actually happening in that dream world, in that lower astral realm. And again, sometimes you may wake up and go, oh, well, I remember interacting with some sort of an odd being in what seems to be some sort of a giant school bus or something. I don't know. That's your mind attempting to make sense from the symbols at hand in your physical world out of what may have actually been an encounter on a spaceship. Because again, the things that are projected from our consciousness into your reality have to take on certain forms that make sense to your physical mind in order for you to be able to actually use the props to construct the memory that you had some sort of an experience. What you call the dream that you remember upon awakening. Now, sometimes it can be a little bit more literal and sometimes it can be a little bit more symbolic or abstract. But the idea of the energy vibration is there, and if it feels like there was a high degree of strangeness or oddness to the idea of the dream, that's usually an indication that the symbol you're remembering in your dream is not necessarily the actual thing you experienced, but some sort of a screen that gives you something to hang on to, something familiar to understand, so you can piece together an understanding of some kind of an adventure, some kind of an experience. Does this make sense? All right. So we would then suggest that when you go to sleep tonight, before you actually fall asleep, ask yourself, speak out loud and ask for assistance from your spirit guides, from other beings in the astral realm, to give you more conscious awareness when you awake in the physical world of exactly what was going on in that dream world, so that you can become more lucid in that reality, realize that that's where you are in the dream, then you can begin to also allow more lucidity to leak into the dream of physical reality, because there really isn't that much difference between the idea of the dream of physical reality and the dreams you experience in the dream world in the lower astral realm. It's a division that is a very fine frequency difference. It's not as big as you think it is. You just have a certain set of belief systems that make you think that the gap is bigger than it is, that the separation and the difference between the physical world and the dream world is very different, very much more different than it actually is. But it's really a very, very thin, hair-fine difference in frequency. So when you allow yourself to know that the veil is very thin between the two, and that the veil is simply something you're creating with your belief systems, you will begin to experience more and more, shall we say, leakage from the lower astral realm into the physical dream, and vice versa, where you can become more lucid in both and create yet again a third reality in which you can experience the idea of walking in your dream, waking in your dream, and always constantly dreaming in the same way that my civilization does, because we walk through dimensions all the time. It is our natural state at this point in our evolution to always be awake and always be dreaming and always experience through our imagination and connections to our higher minds multidimensional experiences with every step we take. It takes some getting used to, but you'll get there. So, allow yourselves to understand that what we are imparting to you this day in this particular transmission is not only the words that you hear, but the vibration of a higher realm, a higher reality of the astral realm, so as to infuse you with more potential and more probability when you go to sleep tonight to open up to the idea of being more aware of what you're doing in the dream world and bringing that information more clearly back with you through that thin veil into the physical dream, so you can begin to truly wake up in both realities, in both dream states, and start to blend them together into a life that contains far more imagination, far more magic, far more manifestation that is in line with who you truly are and who you prefer to be. Does that make sense? Then, before we continue then with this transmission, we will wish you all pleasant dreams. We thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you, to drop that seed into your consciousness so that it may grow. And in return for the gift you are giving us, I ask, in what way now may we be of service to you? Please begin with your conversations, dialogues, and questions if you wish.